But if I'm just being in a marriage or in a relationship and I just want to gain anything from it, this relationship won't last long, because there will be a season where you feel like you are not gaining anything from that relationship, and then you will just break up.
Ladies and gents, welcome to Voices of Life, the podcast with topics related to the apostolic faith in the 21st century. Let's talk about what interests you here on Voices of Life.
Hello and welcome back to our podcast. Today we would like to talk about relationships, different types of relationships, and how you can ruin them. You can destroy relationships very easy with different behaviors and things that are not healthy. And today we would like to address some of them. And we are not just talking about romantic relationships. We will talk about in general, our relationships that we have with our boss, with our friends, with whomever we have relationships. And we also would like to talk about a most important relationship, and that is the one between you and God. And we as human beings, we are social beings. We need each other. We are not created to be all by ourselves somewhere on an island. We are beings that need each other. But the thing is, we can also destroy our relationships. And one main topic will be communications.
Exactly. We're going to start with that big topic because communication is key, as you say. And communication, it has been made much easier than it was. You had to take up the phone and dial the number, actually dial it in, and not just go on quick call. Oh, here's the friend, here's my colleague. And you have WhatsApp, you have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have all kind of social media channels in which you can stay in contact with people, but still a lack of communication, or even because of that, destroys relationships even today. Even though it's made so easy, many people just stop communicating after a while. While you started out maybe talking for hours about certain things, or you had so many interests that you had together, and you could talk about it and go on, it just stops somewhere. And that is definitely something that kills relationships.
But it's also important which way you communicate with that person. I mean, of course, you can communicate over Instagram, Facebook, and all these other platforms, but it's also important to communicate with the person face to face, especially when it's really, really deep conversation or important conversation. So the other person can see the emotion, what's behind the different topic. So it's very important to always communicate important topics about face to face.
Yeah, I think especially with being able to write, you have so many possibilities of misunderstanding people. For example, if you read a WhatsApp or an email in whatever context, you write it out, and for you, you read it with your own voice in a normal tone. But when somebody else reads it, I have that sometimes. I read an email or a text message, thinking, wow, this person was very angry. Or, wow, they could have put some kind of emoji behind it, but they did nothing and just a dot or just an exclamation mark. I'm like, oh, they must be mad. Even though that's just how they write. And they don't write with a lot of emoji, with hearts and unicorns and rainbows, and we're so happy. And so we read it in our own voice, and that can cause misunderstandings, which can also lead to kill a relationship.
Yeah, misunderstandings also a big problem. And a lot of people break up because of things that have been said, but they were meant totally different, and people get offended. That's also a thing. If people get easily offended, then relationships also tend to break up. And I feel sometimes we are living in a society today where people are a lot easier offended than it used to be. Maybe I'm just old and feel strange about things. I don't know. But it is like everybody is talking about their feelings. And every time you have a different opinion or so, their feelings are hurt, and then they break up the relationship and they leave you because of hurt feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that people nowadays can be very sensitive. And I'm one of the young people, so I even with myself, I realize that I am quite sensitive sometimes. Like, it does hit me quite quite quickly when someone criticizes me or or something like that. So that's definitely something that I can agree, because in the end it doesn't help you to be offended, and normally you will then just get that offended feeling and act out weirdly or say stupid things, or so whenever I get offended, I try to calm down and then continue with the conversation, or collect my thoughts, and then write a message or something like that, and not act out of that emotion of being offended. Yeah.
But I also, sorry, but I also
okay.
think when you are closely related with somebody and you have a close relationship, and it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, just you're very close, and then you criticize your friend, he feels offended, it hurts his feeling, and that person may not understand you're not criticizing him as a person at all. You're just criticizing a thing that he or she did, not him as a person. But usually, if there's another guy, you just met them once and you criticize them, it's easy for that person not really to get offended, because he doesn't know you so much. He said, well, I don't care, it's your opinion, why should I care if you criticize me? But I think sometimes the closer people are, that the harder it becomes for them to differentiate is that it is constructive criticism and not just criticizing them as a whole person and take it personal. So
Could that also stem from another thing that I think kills relationships is pride? So could that being offended easily stem from a lot of pride, or maybe not a lot, but just pride in general, because you might think higher of yourself, oh, I'm this or I'm that, or I'm so perfect in doing this, and when
Criticism.
Thank you. Where's that word? Criticism comes, that maybe that's a reason why you're easily offended. If that pride just leaves and you're humble enough to receive, like, hey, thank you for doing it. Like, of course, it depends how the person tells you the criticism. I mean, it's easy to criticize somebody just for the sake of criticizing the person, and then it doesn't get you anywhere. But what do you think about that? Could that be pride?
It could be pride, but also a lack of a self-reflection. Because if you don't really, if you listen to the criticism and really don't think about what you could have done wrong, that's the point where you don't reflect yourself, but you just see the person who criticized you and be like, oh, he's just, or she's just a hater, or whatever. But if you really self-reflect, or you humble down, in the other word, then you can really think about what have you done and what can you do better to have the relationship in a better way, you could say.
And I also think it's the two extremes. When people are proud, like you said, then they are offended easily, maybe, but also those that are very insecure of themselves. They are also emotionally hurt or offended. And those people that are more balanced, I think they can handle criticism a little better than those on those extremes.
Yeah. I agree with that. That's a very nice summary. I don't have anything to add.
Well, good to know.
But I think another thing in friendships, especially, is if something like that happens. For example, your feelings were hurt. I mean, it can happen in friendships. It's just, we're humans. We do mistakes. We make mistakes. But then it's important to forgive one another and to be able to forgive, but also to ask for forgiveness. I think both sides are hard, especially if you did, like, not just, oh yeah, I missed an appointment or something, or I didn't write you back in time. But if it's something bigger, then a friendship has to endure that. And I think a relationship killer right away is to not being able to forgive somebody and just hold that grudge, hold on to that grudge. Say, no, I can't leave, I can't let that go, and it will destroy the relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Also, if you don't really listen to the person, if you just sit with the person face to face and you ask the person, how was your day? And the person talks about his day, and you just look all around and not really paying attention to the person what is actually talking to you, that's also very not a good feeling for the person who talks to you as well. It's not a good feeling, and it also really breaks relationship as well.
Oh, since you said that now, that just came to my mind. What about you sit there and you talk, and then I don't know if you have that too in conversations, but people just start looking on their phone.
Oh,
They just take their phone out and start looking at their phone. For me, that is in that moment a communication killer.
Yeah.
I sometimes even did that. I stood up and just left. I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're not interested in our conversation. Because
makes sense.
And having the phone, like your cell phone, having it on the table sends already signals to your partner.
That's true.
Because if there's anything else, you're not important anymore. I will have a look on my smartphone. And somebody said, I don't know, I forgot who it was, but some guy, he said, even just sitting in a restaurant and even taking the phone upside down and put it on the table sends the same signal. Because you have it in your reach. And I noticed that happens a lot with people. Not just with people in the world, but also among us church people, also among pastors and so on. And me myself too. When I'm in the restaurant, I noticed myself. I put it on the table because sometimes I don't want to have it in my jacket because it can be easily stolen. But when I have it on the table, I do notice when messages come in, and it distracts me also, and I suppose it also distracts other people when they have their phone on the table, and then you talk with them, and you really can tell when you look at them that they are gone with their mind, that they are thinking, who called me? Who is it? Is it important? Is it my mom? Is it this? Is it that brother? Is it that sister? Is it that friend or whatever? Or is it the job? Oh, no. And you talk to them and they just don't get anything you said to them. And then when you just ask them a question just to check on them, and then you see, caught you. You did not listen anymore. And the phones are also, they can also destroy at least a good conversation, but they can also be a destroyer of relationship. I've recently saw a picture, I think it was on Facebook or so, or maybe it was on Insta, because I'm young. And there's a picture from parents sitting on the couch. They were just staring at their smartphone, and they had little kids that wanted to get their attention, but they could not get their attention. And this is very bad for that extremely important relationship between a child and their parent. So these things can also destroy. Technology is a good thing, but we need to learn how to use it, and we need to learn how to control it so it does not control us. And that is also said very easily. It's not done, because I caught myself. I also got an Apple Watch. So as soon as there are some notifications, I feel it on my wrist. It goes, I notice it. And that can distract you so easily. And it's like a dog, that reacts to a command or a whistle, like, and he is running by. It's like the phone is going, and everybody, what is it? Was it? It's so, and it is a killer of relationship.
But those actually are the patterns that we train every time we grab the phone after it makes that sound. And so we actually become trained like a dog to do those things. And I also noticed it with me, how bad it became. So I just recently turned off all notifications, so I don't get any, but I'm still experimenting with that as well. But just because I realized how much I make how much I choose to be slave to those emails that I have to answer then right away, because I always like to get my notification box clean, to take care of things that are in there.
Same way. It is so bad. Sometimes I just recently saw a computer from somebody else, and I saw, the email inbox, and it said over 300 unanswered emails that would kill me. Every time I see some notifications on my phone, I need to just get rid of them. I just check on them really quick, and then it disappears, and I feel more relaxed. I do know that feeling totally. Yeah. So we still have a long way to go, I guess.
There is something that I just turned off in WhatsApp to see when people read my messages, or they they see that I read theirs. I have to say that took so much pressure away in every kind of way. Yes, sometimes I miss something, but it's worth so much more that peace of mind because people, they write me really 2 minutes. I saw that you read the message.
Wow.
Like, are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Like, no.
Mhm.
No. And that's why I turn it off. I can't handle that.
Or people send you, I'm old school, or people send you an email and the email just arrived. A minute later, they call you, I've sent you, I said, yep, I haven't even opened it yet. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that also can destroy relationships, or
Yes.
at least make you mad.
Yes, and especially writing messages like Stephen just said, oh, I saw you read my message. Why haven't you answered? Don't take everything personally. That would be my advice.
Yeah.
And don't be that friend that writes that because really you don't have no idea what situation that person is in right now. And you don't have time the whole day for answering all kind of messages. That's the reality. Yeah.
Well, that's also a killer of relationship is if you take everything personally, especially when somebody jokes about you and stuff like that, and you all like we said before, all caught up with our feelings and that hurt my feelings and blah blah blah, and or sometimes just go overboard and try to really tear down the person who made a joke about you. And so that's also a thing where we have to be careful about to take not everything so personally.
Yeah.
So
Don't take yourself so seriously.
Oh, that's a good word. Yeah.
Because sometimes you should be able to laugh at yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you heard some strange noises, well, I
That
don't
was
know.
me.
Yeah, something fall down or whatever. I
I'm
don't
sorry,
know.
my phone.
It was not Sebastian.
It was his cell phone, guys. So just saying, he's probably looking at his
I
inbox
got
right
a
now.
notification. Yeah.
Like he said, he's trained like a dog.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
I take now
had to
I
do that
take
personally.
now that I take personally.
Oh, well, that's the
So
thing you have to deal
we
with.
lost another friend, right? So
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just the three of us now continuing
aye.
that podcast. All right.
I hope it's not too much German sarcasm.
Well, they will figure it out.
And we're glad it's no secrets that being told here. We're out in the open.
Mhm.
Speaking of secrets,
Uh-oh.
it's
What?
also, I think, a relationship killer definitely is.
That was so smooth. I'm sorry. Oh yeah.
Like what is he unpacking now? What is he unpacking? Because
But
he looked at me.
spilling secrets is also a
Yeah.
definite relationship killer. Maybe it's just a loss of trust, a big
Well,
chunk of trust.
Yeah.
But it most definitely kills a relationship if you tell a secret that was really personal.
Yeah.
And that happens in all kind of ways. I mean, it can also, since we talked about joking about each other, using something that somebody told you in secret and using it as a joke out in the open
Yeah.
can also already at least scratch that, like, he knows that this is hard for me or that this is something I shared with them and now they're joking about it. It doesn't sit right somehow. So that can also destroy a relationship very quickly.
Go on. No, you don't
I'm
want.
sorry.
So-
I'm sorry.
So these are some general things that destroy relationship, but also romantic relationships within couples. Let's talk about
Let's talk about it. Yes.
the couples among us. We are all married, so we know what we are talking about, right?
Mm,
Yes.
Who is married the longest? All right.
Yeah. Our
Well-
master, yeah, exactly. How many years?
No, I won't say it. I won't say it. No,
Well,
I won't date myself.
I think I was
Nope.
3 years old. Not 3 or 4 when they got married. So it was a while.
Stop it. Let's talk about respect now. So I think that's all. I feel disrespected right now. No,
I'm sorry.
no. I'm fine. I'm not easily offended. Wow, it's getting crazy.
He can take
I'm
a joke.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I try to. Anyway, a lack of respect for your partner is also
Yeah.
very hurtful for your relationship, especially in a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Like-
anyone?
Lack of respect, and also, I mean, if someone wants to say add something to the respect, you can, but also lack of appreciation. I wanted to say
Mhm. Yeah.
that's something which is very important, that we express what we appreciate and that we express that we are noticing efforts that the other person does, and whatever is something nice, say it if you notice it. and appreciate the person by that.
And it's just sometimes the little things.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, thank
Definitely.
you for making the breakfast, or thank you for getting that fixed or whatever. That is already, it can be a big deal for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the opposite, which would be, I guess, ungratefulness or criticizing again the whole time, that would be a relationship killer.
Hmm.
I think taking things for granted.
Mhm.
They're just
Yeah.
there the whole time. Oh yeah, the
Mhm.
partner is there the whole time. Yeah, I'll wake up next to them. When I think, well, it was for me when I got married. It was like waking up next to that person. That was such a beautiful feeling.
Mm.
It's still beautiful, my love. It's still beautiful, but it just
You had to
changes.
say that because
Yeah.
she will probably listen to that episode.
No, it just changes over time. It's not like you wake up with butterflies. Like I'm still next to that person. Wow, amazing. It just changes, but still appreciating that, not taking it for granted.
Yes.
This is just one example of many, that you're able to kiss your wife, that you're able to spend time with her. It's just something that shouldn't be taken for granted, especially if we talk to people that are not married yet, especially in a Christian background where we're not living together or being together. When we ask them, they would say, well, it's so great. You can do that. You can drive there together. You can go on vacation together. You can do this and that and everything. It's so amazing for us. We would wish to have that. And sometimes in marriages, we're like, oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the beginning, usually in those kind of relationships or when they are just newly married, everything is somehow on a high. They still have high feelings. There are still some butterflies, flying around. But those butterflies will die eventually after a few years. But still, you can keep the appreciation.
Yeah.
And the appreciation should not be based only on your feelings. Because, like I said, those emotions, those feelings, those butterflies will die eventually because they won't get that old actually. But the appreciation can still be there. And that's sometimes what people lose in their relationship, and that hurts them.
Yeah. Just one point I wanted to say is it's with the respect part and also the appreciation part is the way you talk to your spouse in front of people and also, of course, in your household. Especially when, let's say, your spouse messes up in some kind of way and you tell her or him, oh, he or she is useless and blah, blah, blah in front of people, that's showing lack of respect and showing also lack of appreciation. And that can also kill the relationship and also probably your face in front of other people. But that's also a big thing. The way you talk to your spouse.
Right. And you should also be careful when you joke publicly about your partner.
Yeah.
Of course, sometimes you can do it, but you really have to be careful. Because you may cross a line and then your partner is very offended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And since we talked about the subject of love, a lack of love, I think that's also a relationship killer, especially in a marriage. But like you said, Pastor, love is a decision. It's not it's not solely a feeling that you just feel and oh, it's gone. Well, I guess I just go to the next partner. But deciding every day, okay, I'm going to love my partner. Like you say in the marriage vows, in good times and bad times, in health and in sickness. And I think it's easy to be said at that day because you still have that high. You still have that feeling, oh yeah, I'll do anything for her at any time. She wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course, I run to the gas station and get her the peanut chocolate bar she wants.
Now
of
that
course,
is
I would
love.
do that.
If you do that at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's a lot of love. Sorry.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I don't know about love. Not at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sorry.
No, but I think that's also a decision that you make daily.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to love my partner every day. And if that's missing, that's a killer.
Let's be spiritual right now. We have 3 types of loves in the Bible. We got filial, friendship, or brotherly love. Then we got which one? Have an idea?
I know agape for sure.
This was the last one.
Eros. Eros?
Eros, yes, which is the we would say the romantic or erotic love, and then there is agape, and that's the thing. We only can have this type of love, agape love, if Jesus Christ is in us, because he is that love. He gave his life for us. He sacrificed for us because out of love. And this kind of love we can also live and practice only if God is with us, if God is in our relationship, in our marriage. And that's an important thing, because if we have that kind of love, then we only want to do something that is beneficial for our partner, and we are not doing it to gain anything from it. And if our partner is the same and has the same attitude towards us, then this will be a marriage that is really blessed. But if I'm just being in a marriage or in a relationship and I just want to gain anything from it, this relationship won't last long, because there will be a season where you feel like you are not gaining anything from that relationship, and then you will just break up. The right love is important.
Yeah. And when we're on the subject of love, I mean, we can go even further than that, because we had a study out about reasons why people divorce or are not in a partnership, in a relationship anymore. And number one reason was an affair, a long-lasting affair, with 77% of people saying, yeah, that's a reason for me to split up. And 50% was a one-night stand. How is that called in English, though?
Nightstand.
Yeah. I think it's
Is
a one-night stand.
is that the right word?
Yeah.
Okay. And so we have those two extreme where it says, okay, a long-lasting affair, which we also talked about, has to do with love even. So the love somehow faded from one partner to another. That's the difference we make. And that one-night stand is not out of love, but mostly out of attraction and lust. And that is, as it said here, a number one relationship killer. And I think we agree on that it's just destroying relationships.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you look at the other female, for me as a man, and that's how I break my marriage with my wife, and so that breaks up the relationship. So yeah, that's most definitely, of course, and you have to check yourself each and every day that you won't come to that part, because we said in our German episode that mostly it starts with our minds, that we go to that affair part, or to a part where we check out, I would say, these other women in this part. So we have to always be clear in our minds and be cleansed in our minds, and be also clear that we, like we said before, are choosing to love our wife no matter what.
Yeah, and I remember we said it can happen that you get thoughts in your head, like, oh, you see someone, and you think, oh, I wish my wife was like that behavior or how she looks or whatever. And those kind of thoughts, it's okay if they come, and maybe they come sometimes, but you cannot keep them or accept them in your mind, or continue moving them, or thinking about how someone else would be better than the one that you married, the one that is your wife or husband. And so that's very important, that you are faithful to your spouse, not only on, the hard line, what Stephen said, by having an affair or something, but even already on the inside of your mind, that you are faithful there and keep that.
I do not want to excuse those people that are having an affair, but usually there are multiple reasons for it, but usually it's the partner that has an affair, he or she feels neglected. She doesn't get the attention anymore that she used to get, and maybe he's not getting the respect that he thinks that he should get. And so it's a process. I don't think that, when they are married, just 1 week later after they've been married, he or she is starting an affair. That's unlikely to happen. But after a few years, and then of a few years of neglecting our partners, then the possibility is higher for somebody else to start an affair. So if you want to fireproof your marriage, you need to recognize your partner. You have to you need to make sure that you are not neglecting your partner, that you take care of his or her needs, and that you talk about it, and that you are open about it. And The thing is today, like we said when we talked about our smartphones, I think smartphones, they are very practical, but they are also very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because couples at home, they could go after work, be home. Maybe they prepare their meal or so, they eat, and then they sit on the couch and everybody is just busy with their own phone. And so what they are doing is they neglecting their relationship.
Yeah.
And this has an effect on them.
Yeah.
And can cause for another person to look for somebody else, like on Facebook, because they're sitting there on Facebook all the time writing, and he or she gets appreciation from that foreign person instead of the partner. And this is a thing that the enemy of our souls, the devil, is using against our families, because the marriage is God ordained and it's sanctified by God. It is a holy thing, and the devil hates it. And that's why he wants to destroy it, and he uses everything he can get.
That's right.
Yeah, you saying chatting with someone else reminded me also of jealousy. We talked about that earlier. It can, and in both its meaning, it can be a relationship killer. Once, if you are a person that is always jealous of someone, as in you don't grant that person having something, that would be for friends, like your friend got a good mark in school, in the test, and you didn't, and you are angry now at him or whatever. But also in the meaning that you are jealous of your partner, as in, oh, whom are you texting with, or oh, you looked at that person a bit weirdly, and like overdoing it the whole time, expressing that you don't trust that person, that he is faithful or that she is faithful. That can also be a relationship killer if the other one feels like, hey, you're not trusting me, you're not trusting that I'm not doing such things.
Well, I think also it's not a problem if, for example, me as a man, a husband, is texting another lady, but I have to make sure and be sure how I text to them. If it's just, small talk, nothing big, I'm not talking about, I'm texting my sister, I'm texting my mom or whatever. I'm talking about a lady, a different lady, maybe even the same age or so. Yeah. If there is a need to text her or write her, whatever, yes, I'll do that. But I have to be careful how I text her.
I always think or say, if you have to hide it, what you text, then you're not texting. Yeah, right, or correctly.
Exactly, not be secretive about it. Yeah.
So if you can't show it, then there's something wrong.
Yeah. See, in our house, it is like that. My phone is available for my wife as well. Mm-hmm. She can at any time look at my phone. She knows the password to get into my phone. Yeah. And, if I need to go to the restroom or so, I wouldn't take my phone with me, because if somebody texts me and she would read it, I wouldn't do that. Because anytime there's a text notification, I know she could possibly read it. She's not doing it because she's trusting me, but she could. Mm-hmm. And when I see or hear stories about the partners or couples that are getting mad when somebody else takes their phone and looks at it, I think there's something not right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's also something interesting. Another point about what can kill relationships is the financial aspect, or money in general. And since you mentioned that now, having joint accounts or having separate accounts, you can spend my money and you can spend my money, and I'm earning more than you, and this and that, and this discussion. It's also over 30% of people are splitting up over money or finances in general, because they just can't get on one point or one goal. Okay, how do we spend our money? How do we budget ourselves? What money do we spend? Of course, sometimes it is that way, that, for example, the wife works part-time and doesn't earn as much money. Of course she doesn't, because she's not working full-time, because maybe she's taking care of the kids or the household or whatever. Or the man does it. I mean, it can go both ways. But of course, if somebody's working full-time, that person cannot say, well, of course, I earned more money, I can spend more money of it. That's just, it doesn't make sense. But I think, or I believe, that there are discussions like that going on. Well, I'm the main person who earns money here, so I should have to say on where it should go, instead of it being a decision you make as a couple together.
Well, the Bible says when two marry, they become one.
Mhm.
So actually, everything
Okay.
should become one.
Yeah. But I think-
Also, you know, the
Yeah.
money. Of course, it is wise to talk about how you spend your money.
Of course.
yeah.
It's not like, you know, that the husband comes home, I just bought a new boat. Or, you know, 15, 20,000 euros, and nobody, your wife didn't know anything about it. That is just stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or when the one spouse who's not working as much as the other spouse goes on a shopping spree because the one spouse earns so much money. That I think that's also not correct. Of course, if the spouse gives the credit card and says, "Go out, have your way with it," that's something different. But if you just do it because, oh, my spouse, he or she's or he, whoever earns enough money that I can buy clothes or buy whatever or make myself feel good, I think that's not really right either. Even though it's your money as one, but still you have to be reasonable with it. I think, yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
And I think as a couple, you should have common goals that you want to
Yeah.
reach, also financially.
Mhm.
So if you decide, let's say you want to buy a house eventually, right now it's very hard to do so here in Germany in our economy.
Mhm.
But anyway, if you decide to do that, then it should be clear you cannot spend the money on everything that just comes to your mind. And you talk about it and you make it clear, and then it should work. Shouldn't be a problem, but you should communicate your goals. And it's, you know, it's so bad sometimes we have people that are married, but they still have the single mindset,
Mhm.
being
Mhm.
like single.
Yeah.
And that has to change, because when people get married, it's my life, I want this and that. It is our life.
Mhm.
What do we want together? What do we want to reach together? What are our common goals and so on?
That's what you just said. So important, communication. Because lack of communication, that breaks. I don't know. Did it say something about communication?
Oh, it
that
did.
one, it did. I didn't see it.
But it's okay.
Yeah, but that's probably also a very, very big part of a breakup marriage, because you don't communicate, like you said, your goals or different boundaries, if it's financially or whatever. Those are very important aspects. Or also, yeah, it's just very important aspects. Also, things that are probably uncomfortable, like wife, I don't like the way you dress yourself in that type of dress or whatever. I mean, I don't say that to my wife, and
That's
Mhm.
dangerous.
Tell
it
me
is
more.
dangerous. It is dangerous, but I mean, I think you have to communicate that. If the one spouse doesn't like the one thing of the other spouse, you have to say that. I mean, if my wife says, I don't like that pants on you, well, then we have to talk about it. And because I like this pants and blah 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 and this and that, but she doesn't like this pants, blah blah. And then you have to see who can compromise, or how can you compromise, and you can only do that with communication. And lack of it, it's done.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think there are some questions you better don't answer.
Better done. Wow.
Let's assume your wife comes to you and says, what do you think? Do I look fat in that dress?
Wow.
Run. Run.
There is
Well-
possibly no answer that is right, I guess.
Well, you can-
you just fall on your knees and pray to God. Maybe that helps. I don't know.
You can communicate it properly, probably, and then
Tell me,
they find a way.
please.
Well, I
please
haven't
tell
found it. I haven't found it yet. Doesn't mean I know there's probably a possibility, but I haven't found it yet either. So don't ask me yet. Give me a couple more years, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, Justin is sleeping on the couch pretty soon.
Oh Lord!
Soon
When
as
is
this
this episode coming out?
Yep.
Right before the anniversary.
Oh no! Please.
All right. Anyway, so now I'm doing I'm the time police. I'd say we need to talk about another relationship that is so important. That is the most important relationship, and that is the one between you and God. And we can also neglect that relationship, like we discussed that it can happen with couples, and it can happen with our relationship with God as well. You know, if you are just focusing on worldly things all the time, then you are neglecting your relationship with God.
Yep. And worldly things can also, I'm sorry, but worldly things can be being busy, doing other things, doing working hard or whatever, or it can be entertainment. It can be everything, just like in a normal relationship. And we have to be careful that we put the priority right and come to God, because it makes him happy and it's making us happy as well when we are in his presence.
Sometimes I feel like we make the relationship with God more spiritual than it ought to be. Because when we go in natural relationships for friends or with spouse, it's so easy to have certain points. Like, of course, I don't want to disappoint them. I want to communicate with them. It's easy to say those points. But when we think about God, sometimes we spiritualize it so much. Like, yeah, I need to pray at least 1 hour a day. I need to fast 2 days a week and do this and that, and just make a list of things that you just check off instead of it being a real relationship. It's just a checklist that you do. Oh, did I pray today? Yes. Did I fast 1 day a week? Yes. Did I read my Bible today? 10 verses. That counts. Instead of it being a relationship, hey, I just want to spend time with God. I want to invest into that relation. That's what I mean by sometimes it seems to me that we're spiritualizing it too much.
It's not a relationship. It's more like a duty or like a chore. And if you have a duty or a chore, you most likely just sooner or later just don't take care of it because you don't want to deal with it anymore. And of course, God sees it as well, that you don't see it as a relationship more than as a chore. And so he probably won't move. He probably won't move as you want him to move because you see it as a chore instead of a relationship. And then it can be very frustrating very quickly, I think.
Yeah, and because if he doesn't move and isn't existing in your life, then how you would want it to be, that only leads you to be even less, maybe, reaching out. So it's like a positive feedback loop, I think it's called. Yeah, never mind, but something like that. I mean, but I think there can be other reasons and that can lead to such a situation, like if you're bitter against God, like if you feel disappointed that he didn't answer your prayer, or you in some way feel hurt by God, which is also possible, and then that leads you that you don't want to pray. And that's also the wrong way then, because that will also just push you even further away, because in reality, you are healed in his presence. And in his presence, his spirit reveals you things and opens your understanding. So again, here also, no matter what it is, if it is just that you are bored by prayer or that you are bitter against God, whatever it is that hinders you, push through that and spend the time and put the priority to do that. And then the relationship will be fruitful and grow.
Yeah, and develop.
Yeah, and has a chance at all.
And forgive yourself.
Yeah.
And accept the forgiveness that God gives you. If you truly repented, for example, from a mistake, or you skipped a day in prayer, or did this, or did something, and you prayed for forgiveness, and God did forgive, then who are we to not forgive ourselves, to hold that grudge against ourselves? Because that's only what the enemy tries to remind every one of us, like, oh, you did that. You cannot come to God anymore. Just stay on the ground. Just lay there. Pity yourself, maybe even like, oh, I'm such a bad person. And God is just standing there with open arms, like, here, I forgave you. Come back to me. Come back into that relationship instead of just staying away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because God's love towards us is not based on our performance. He loves our soul. He loves us as a human being, not because we perform the way he likes to. Of course, he's happy if we do that, and he may be sad if we are not doing it. But his love towards us is still the same, and the devil tries to tell us it's not.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what happened with the Israelites a lot of time. They had the law, and they tried to follow it step by step and couldn't. But through God's Spirit today, we have the power to follow through and to do it. But of course, when we fall, I think, I don't know where that verse is, but when we fall, rejoice not against me, my enemy. I don't know where that verse is, but when I fall, I shall arise. It's not, somebody once said that, it's not if I fall, but when. God knows that we're going to make mistakes, but it's the getting up again. It's the not staying down that keeps us going.
Yeah. That is so dangerous, because I had problems with that for a couple years, when I thought about a thing or said something wrong, and then in my mind came, oh, you said this, or you've done this. You can't pray anymore. You can't do this anymore, and really it sometimes stops you for weeks for not praying, because you can't forgive yourself for doing that small thing, you could say. And that is so dangerous. So like we said, get up and just get back on your knees and go back to prayer. And because the Lord, he wants that with you. He wants that relationship with you. He wants you in his arms. He wants to show you that love that he has for you. So yeah, they're very important.
And I think also the Lord enables you to go back on your feet.
True.
When you are down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he wants to help you. It's like a father that comes to his child when the child falls on the floor.
Yeah.
He goes to him and says, well, let me pick you up. And he reaches out for the child.
Yeah.
And the only thing the child has to do is to reach out for his father's hand or her father's hand, doesn't matter. And the father will pick the child up. Because sometimes the child may be hurt and is not able to pick themselves up, but there's God that picks you up.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with us. Sometimes we are hurt. The devil, the enemy, is fought against it so hard, and he accused us so hard, and we start believing his accusations, and we are on the ground, and we don't have the strength anymore to get up. But then there is God. The only thing is just call on his name and reach for his hands, and he will give you the strength that you need to get up again. And then don't forget, he is still walking with you. He won't leave you alone. He will walk with you. Because he loves us.
Yeah.
And his love towards us never changes. Whereas our love towards him can fade. That's why he wrote to the church in Revelation. He wrote, there's one thing that I have against you. You've forsaken your first love. So we need to work on it and keep the first love. The first love is in the beginning when you just were born again and everything is so new. You were happy to go to church service. You went there early to be there on prayer time because you knew God is waiting for me. Now I go there. But then after a couple of years, prayer meetings or before the service, why should I go there? It is just a duty. So that means you've lost your first love. We need to keep that because this is dangerous and it's not good for our relationship with God, of course.
Yeah.
We said a lot of things, but still we are not finished. There's so much more we could say, and we are over time actually. And hopefully you like this episode. Hopefully it inspires you to think about your relationships and especially your relationship between you and God. And hopefully we were able to give you some good advice and to watch over things not to do and prevent them in your life. And hopefully God will protect you, and I'm sure he will. And we are looking forward to having you again on our podcast. Hopefully this was not your last episode. Please comment, subscribe, follow us, share this podcast, this episode, if you think it's beneficial for somebody else. Write some ideas, topic ideas. We would love to get some feedback from you, and we would like to address topics that you are really interested in. Well, I think that's enough from our side. God bless you. Looking forward to having you again on our podcast.
Until next time.
See you.
Bye-bye.